Okay, so continuing from the business page of the Hindu in part 2, here we see कि Israel में जो conflict चल रही है, Hamas has attacked Israel. So after that, उसका जो impact है, immediate impact, I should say, on India. So that is, it raises our concerns regarding inflation. Crude oil prices, they have shot up. Fiscal math would be impacted, and Indian currency, that is rupee. So global crude oil prices surged more than 3% on Monday, even as जो stocks हैं, they have also tanked amid a risk-averse stance from investors who rushed to safe haven assets like gold. So this is the immediate behavioral change also that has been visible in terms of the investment decisions of the investors. So they are shifting to more safer assets, and uska impact even yesterday we saw in terms of the capital market down side that we saw. इसके अलावा करेंसी पे इम्पैक्ट हो रहा है, एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस मेजर इम्पैक्ट जो अभी भी बस सेइंग कि G20 में से जो मतलब की आउटकम्स था, वेस्टर्न एशिया इकोनॉमिक कॉरिडोर अनाउंस किया गया था. सो इवन गेटिंग इट फास्ट पेस, हम कोशिश कर रहे थे कि we'll be implementing it as soon as possible. So even the implementation process would be impacted out of this war. And trade बहुत important aspect है, so trade might be impacted because again that is one of the important trade route to for India to even reach Europe also via the West Nation region. So these are some of the areas which would be impacted as far as India is concerned. So fiscal consolidation की अगर हम बात करें तो firstly FRBM Act हमारे लिए important है. What are the reforms that needs to be done in the FRBM Act according to again the changed fiscal dynamics specifically after the COVID-19. So herein fiscal consolidation is important to clip the public capital expenditure. So fiscal consolidation commitments will make the growth in the public capital expenditure witnessed in the past few years unsustainable going forward. So जो concern है हमारे लिए यहाँ पे, because fiscal consolidation is an important goal and target for us. So उसके लिए it might result into कि जो हमारा public capital expenditure है, जो government capital expenditure करती है, उसकी sustainability पे कितना capital expenditure किया जाएगा, वो impact हो सकता है. So instead of this, we can again go with the rationalization of the revenue expenditure, but वहाँ पे भी अपनी problem है कि वो उसको हम short term basis पे suddenly उसको clip नहीं कर सकते हैं. So these are some of the dynamics, and उसकी वजह से जो impact आएगा वो आएगा on public capital expenditure. So private sector will have to play a more prominent role to offset the same. So private sector का role भी important हो जाता है with this. And corporate sector balance sheets, they are deleveraged, and banks, they're also well capitalized to aid such an eventuality as per the Goldman Sachs note also. So India में again जो banking sector है, that is performing very nicely. It is strong, it is resilient. So even when we talk about the decline in the NPA, so they are at also their lowest level. So according to the note, 1997 or 2022 के अगर हम period की बात करें, तो corporates and the households, they were responsible for about 3/4 of investments. but जो last decade की अगर हम बात करें, तो we are seeing a drop in investments by both these groups. So it's important कि even private sector की जो investments है, that needs to go up. Interestingly, जो private corporates and household investments together, they have accounted for about 25% of the GDP as of 2022. So these are some of the important again data भी है and trend भी समझना हमारे लिए important है. Okay, now coming to the Mint newspaper. So यहाँ पे भी हम देखते हैं कि AI की application in parliamentary decisions कैसे की जा रही है. हम बात करते हैं uses of AI या machine learning. So Ministry of Corporate Affairs जो है, they are coming up with automating the compliance system with the artificial intelligence and machine learning tools. But जो decisions है regarding serving notices on the companies, that would be left for the human officials to make. So this is obviously very clear कि AI cannot replace humans. So MCA can क्या mandate है, and क्यों basically they are going forward with this decision. So जो system है, it will draw up a list of errant companies. Only an authorized official, then they are going to take a decision in this regard. So idea is to adopt human-centric approach to AI. and give the non-compliant companies time to respond before serving a notice. So serving notice may again humans and the officials are going to play an important role. So what's new about this approach? What is new? What is different? So MCA 21, it was designed to automate all the services which are related to the enforcement and compliance of the requirements under the Companies Act. So in Vision 2019-24 document, MCA underscored the use of AI and ML and real-time analytics. This technology can help us to develop a common platform so as to connect all economic and financial regulators databases and avoid the duplication of data. तो यहाँ पे important role हो जाता है AI और machine learning का. And even when it comes to enhance the security and the threat management solution, so there also it has an important role. So it plans to include humans to supervise these AI powered results. So again, सिर्फ इन results के ऊपर हम 100% rely नहीं करने वाले हैं. So human cognitive skills definitely they matter and AI cannot replace them completely. So human in the AI loop, what do we mean by this? So keeping someone in the loop typically implies making the person part of or at least privy to the decision-making process. So this is very clear. Benefits क्या हो सकते हैं इस approach के? So generative AI models are known to convincingly provide wrong answers. They are also known to plagiarize and violate the copyrights and trademarks also, all without a moral compass. So when we talk about ethical usage of AI, so there's the aspect and the concerns related to that. So experts can't figure out how unsupervised large language models like OpenAI's ChatGPT 4 arrive at conclusions. So who is to blame अगर ऐसे system में we see कि it goes लीगली रॉन्ग या और जो मेडिकल एडवाइस भी है इट माइट बी पॉसिबल कि रॉन्ग मेडिकल एडवाइस दी जाएगी तो हु इज गोइंग टू बी रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर दिस थिंग सो फर्म्स दे आर हायरिंग ह्यूमंस टू मॉडरेट दिस कंटेंट व्हिच इज जनरेटेड बाय द एआई एंड दैट इज व्हाई हम 100% रिलाई नहीं कर सकते सो ह्यूमन डिसीजन मेकिंग ह्यूमन एनालिसिस इज important in order to moderate that content and data annotators to add the labels categories and other contextual elements to increase accuracy of these models. So basically जो process है थोड़ा speed up हो जाएगा and that is going to be one of the expected benefits out of it. Quote of the day is coming from the European Commissioner for the Neighborhood and Enlargement. So he says foundations for peace, tolerance and coexistence must now be addressed. Incitement to hatred, violence and glorification of terror have poisoned the minds of too many. We need action and we need it now. So this is quite surprising कि firstly तो UK and we are seeing USA they are coming in support of Israel providing arms and ammunition at the same time आप बोल रहे हो कि we need to come up with a solution so directly आपने solution restoration of peace की क्यों नहीं बात की why you are supplying arms and artillery to Israel जो आपने lessons learn किए from the Russia-Ukraine war उनका तो again there's no point of those lessons because जो approach है again conventional approach वही follow की जा रही है. So everything again boils down to the same thing कि why we didn't directly talk about restoration of peace या हम उन efforts की बात क्यों नहीं कर रहे कि जिसके through ये war रुक जाए and we directly come to a solution for this या even things do not get escalated further. Okay, so now taking a Financial Express newspaper. So as you can see, impact of this war on Indian stock market, oil prices climbs up, stocks they sulk, Brent rises nearly 4%. India says will handle the situation maturely. So India ka jo stand hai, we are supporting Israel because obviously India is very clear. We're not going to support any kind of terrorist organization or terrorist activity in any form. So that's why we stand by Israel and this is the again short-term impact. So Prime Minister of Israel, he says that I know you've been through tough, terrible things. What Hamas will go through will be tough and terrible. We're already in the midst of the battle and we have only just begun. So again, like Russia-Ukraine war वो अभी चल ही रहा है वो end नहीं हुआ है यहाँ पे we have again seen कि this war it's very clear what he's been saying, that this is going to escalate further and further tensions in Indo-Pacific region because around the Taiwan Strait region. So where are we actually moving is a very big question for us to understand. So it's all about this war over here. So हमारे जो gems and jewelry exports है, they are going to be hit. So problems बहुत ज़्यादा और increase हो सकती है because already we were having this challenge of exports slowdown, and further slowdown is going to be a great challenge, a very big challenge. And let's see how we are going to sail through these challenging times. What policies, how when we talk about Indian economy resilience, how that is going to come to our aid in this challenging times. So India's trade with the West Asia GCC Gulf Cooperation Council 2022-23 figures agar hum dekhe, so we export only $51.2 billion and we import around $133.2 billion. So it's important to look कि हम import क्या कर रहे हैं. So in that, gems and jewelry is a part, electrical machinery, fertilizers. So that is going to again further add up. When we talk about add up to the pressure of rising prices of the fertilizers, so again, this was one of the fallouts of even the Russia-Ukraine war. And when we talk about gems and jewelry imports, so we are already seeing कि जो हमारी diamond industry है, diamond industry specifically concentrated more in the state of Gujarat, that is also seeing a slowdown because वहाँ पे भी because of the economic slowdown in the Western world, जो major economies से demand आती है, that is US and China. So their economic slowdown is leading to fall in the demand. So even diamond industry is also slowing down. So overall, that's how multiplier effect हमें देखने को मिल सकता है. Exports की अगर हम बात करें तो petroleum products are exported, gems and jewelry, electrical machinery, organic chemicals and plastics. So majorly petroleum products and gems and jewelry, they would be impacted. So even current account deficit worries they increases because again, this would be further widening with the current challenges that we are seeing. Crude oil prices increase हो रहे हैं, उसकी वजह से it would be further increasing. Then exports decline, that is also one of the reasons जिसकी वजह से हमारा current account deficit और increase हो सकता है. So Mumbai may be seeing कि Swiggy riders, they go on indefinite strike. So when we talk about the gig economy, so herein their demands includes Swiggy executives, they have called for a citywide strike, citing reduced payouts and diminished incentives. So ये एक we can say one of the distinct factors रहते हैं specifically gig economy में. When we talk about जो incentives available हैं and even the pay or the amount that you receive for each specific task that you're completing. So Swiggy has recently increased the delivery radius for the delivery workers from 4 kilometer to 6 kilometer, increasing the load on the these Swiggy riders. So these are the concerns. And apart from this, जब हम overall बात करते हैं gig economy की, तो the size is going to expand in future, specifically India context में अगर हम बात करें. So herein we recently saw कि even the state of Rajasthan, they came up with a bill when we talk about addressing the concerns and ensuring the rights and interests of the gig workers, they are ensured and they're not violated. So pan India level pe we again need such a law. At the same time, जब हम बात करते हैं social security measures, kind of an informal sector की तरह हम देख सकते हैं जो gig workers हैं. So how we can again ensure कि जो ultimate जो setup है, जो structure है gig economy का, that is not tinkered with, but at the same time जो interest है like social security या how much amount they are getting या जो even decision making powers of these companies as far as payouts की बात करो या incentives की बात करो, तो कितने हद तक वो उनको change कर सकते हैं. तो इसके around we need a proper pan India law on this. Pravesh, do you want to add up something here on this topic?
No, we can continue.
Okay. This we've already covered. So digitization or easy access की वजह से we are seeing कि higher retail future and options trading. So because of digitization in the capital market, we are seeing you can easily open up your demat accounts and you can start trading in future and options also. But यहाँ पे भी after COVID-19, we saw massive increase in the number of participants in the stock market that they have registered via different applications that have come up. So herein यहाँ पे भी financial awareness, what can be the implications of, again, not being proper aware about कि कैसे चीजें actually work करती है, आपको huge amount of financial loss भी हो सकता है, as we now see कि when you open up these apps, आपको एक kind of notification मिलता है about the data of past few years कि it says कि 9 out of 10 individuals, they suffer a loss in the stock market. So awareness and proper having those skills, only then you need to go forward. Because even यहाँ पे social media platforms भी आप अगर देखोगे, जो successful personalities आप देखोगे कि even youths, they are being successful. So कहीं ना कहीं वो एक तरीके से आपको ना negatively भी influence करता है in terms of कि आपको भी लगता है even you can also do it, but आपको अपनी skills पे पहले work करने की जरूरत है.
I think, and this stock market is always subject to market risk. This is number one. And second is there is a hoarding towards getting money in less span of time. This is a new
Yes.
kind of culture has been started, especially in the stock market. So obviously, as you mentioned, that proper instruction and the financial literacy should be provided. But along with that, I think we need to have some strict guidelines so as to prevent these kinds of incidences where the people are losing their money, because it is definitely going to have some negative repercussion on our banking sector also, when the people are taking loans from the banks and investing in these, when the time they are not able to repay, that leads to the NPA like problems.
Yes. Okay, so now we can shift to Indian Express newspaper.
So we have a report which is citing that with nuclear armed submarines, China is near the breakthroughs. So obviously we have seen that how the China's, the ships and the nuclear power submarines are entering into the marine territories of different neighboring areas. When we talk about the Philippines, when we talk about the Taiwan, and number of other countries also. So this challenge is growing because there is an active participation by the US and the Western allies in this particular area, which is to track the China's movement and to, in the name of democratic sovereignty and a democratic way to protect the sovereignty of different countries. So China is on track to have its Type 096 ballistic missile submarines operational before the end. And China is also having this, submarine which is most advanced marine launched under the JL-3 missile. So that is not our concern. But yes, what we can see is that a heavy focus is given by the China on its marine supremacy, which is reflected when it is having the state-of-the-art technologies in the submarine, in the ships, for the penetration into the Pacific and into the South China Sea. So that is a cause of concern specifically for the India when we are talking about a peaceful maritime space. So here we can talk about the CGI bench, which poses transfer of armed force tribunal judge after the bar strike. So yeah, I mean, this is a kind of information, so we should not give too much attention to this.
Okay. I think we can first take up the explain page and then we can look for other important topics.
Exactly. So Gaza, which has been a history of war. So as we can see in the map that this particular area near the Mediterranean Sea is considered as Gaza Strip, and that is a bone of contention between Israel and mainly for the Israel. So according to this article, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu joined PM Modi at the Murti and finally pay homage to Indian soldiers who fell in the Battle of Haifa in the Israeli century ago. The chowk was renamed as Teen Murti Haifa Chowk. So this shows that how the diplomatic relations are affecting and basically fueling the naming of these noble places. And three statues commemorated the heroism of the lancers from Jodhpur, Mysore, and Hyderabad, basically in the Imperial Service Cavalry Brigade. Sinai and Palestinian campaign during the World War I also we had seen. Before Haifa, Gaza. 10 months before the Haifa, the Lancers and the Gurkha riflemen played a key role in another battle, which was fought south of Haifa in a land hugging the same Mediterranean coastline. So what we are seeing that the active participation of Indian soldiers, which has been since the independence, as far as the Israel's military campaigns are concerned in different particular areas. 20 lakh Pati, Indians call the Gaza Strip Ghazi Patti. That is a Hindi name, and it is just a sliver of land between Israel and Egypt. The Mediterranean Sea lies to its west, homes to more than 20 lakh Palestinians in an area barely 365 square kilometer. The Gaza Strip, which is known as Gaza Patti, and West Bank constitute the state of Palestine. And India became one of the first countries to grant its recognition in 1988. But today, what we are seeing that there is a very different stance which is taken by even the US when the US has declared Gaza Strip as a part of Israel itself. Now, Gaza exit plan 2 years before the Hamas seized control, the government of Israel's PM Ariel Sharon unilaterally disbanded 21 Israeli settlements in Gaza Strip. The Hamas raids inside Israel, the killings and the rocket barrage over the weekend have turned the spotlight on Netanyahu and his government. So what we are seeing is that the active fueling is done by the Palestinian with to Hamas to rave to ravage the Israel, especially near the Gaza Strip, because Israel and Palestinian have this bone of contention regarding this particular area, as we have between India and Pakistan, as we have with various other countries like we have Nagorno-Karabakh region between Azerbaijan and Armenia. So what we can draw our attention in this that India has always supported a democratic way out in this matter. As we can see that earlier we took the stance of Palestine when we supported the Palestinian demand that Gaza Strip should be accorded to them. But now what we are seeing is that neither India is saying about this, but India is definitely having a plan which is suggesting a proper way out to come out of this war and to settle this matter on a common table. So Mansi, if you want to add, if you want to ask something, you can.
I would just say कि the only sustainable and reliable solution to this problem is कि Israel needs to recognize the territorial rights of the Palestinians. But since Israel is having an upper hand, so that is why it basically does not want to go forward with this solution which exists there. So yeah,
I think you agree with this that Palestinian actually are the owner of Gaza Strip. You want to say this?
Yes, Gaza Strip also, and even Western Bank में भी जो territorial claims है, we are seeing कि Israel it has recognized Jerusalem जो even Western Bank में lie करते हैं as their capital. So वहाँ पे भी Israel having the support of US, UK, so वो कहीं ना कहीं एक तरीके से upper hand देते थे Israel को कि it will be not going to or not going forward with the demands of the Palestinians. तो इस वजह से ये problem चली आ रही है. You can see कि इस graph में भी लिखा है, मतलब ये data show कर रहे हैं conflicts जो चल रही है 2008 से. So basically periodically यहाँ ये region बिल्कुल unstable ही रहा है in terms of attacks जो किए जाते हैं, sudden impacts हो जाते हैं. So you're seeing कि कोई again sustainable solution की तरफ move करने की कोशिश नहीं की जा रही है.
I think I have heard this thing also that the common that is I think the golden something you were telling that is claimed by Israel, that is claimed by Palestinian also in the name of their religion.
तो हाँ, religion is an also aspect. Gaza Strip and West Bank मैं बोल रही हूँ. So since Palestinians they also reside in Western Bank also, so ये दो regions ऐसे जहाँ पे again dispute है. And Palestinians they claim कि उनकी territory है. They obviously demanding कि it needs to be formed out a different country out of that region. उनको again अपनी sovereignty, अपनी freedom भी चाहिए. So what's wrong अगर Israel उनको वो right दे देता है and this issue comes to an end?
No, I think if we are going with this plan कि उस Israel को Palestinian को दे देना चाहिए, so that is definitely going to have some implications on the Indian-Pakistan relations as far as the Kashmir is concerned.
Like how?
Obviously, the Pakistan will say that the India should allow us to rule the Kashmir.
नहीं बट वहां पे और बाकी फैक्टर्स भी तो आ जाते हैं ना, जब हम इवन बात करते हैं जो पीओके पाकिस्तान ऑक्युपाइड कश्मीर है, इंडिया की अपनी अलग चीज है वो, उसको आप इसको यहाँ पे कैसे रिलेट करो, मेरे को वो समझ नहीं आ रहा।
नहीं, आई एम सेइंग दैट इसके इम्प्लीकेशंस आ सकते हैं, बिकॉज अगर ये दोनों इस तरीके की सेटलमेंट करते हैं तो इन इंडिया द ओनली प्रॉब्लम इज द कश्मीर इज डिवाइडेड विद ओनली विद पाकिस्तान. But we are also seeing a very hard competitor, and that is China, which is also having occupied some of the part of the Jammu and Kashmir state.
स्मॉल टेरिटोरियल क्लेम्स है वो है, बट इंडिया चाइना या इंडिया पाकिस्तान तो इंडिपेंडेंट कंट्री एग्जिस्ट करते हैं ना, यहाँ पे तो वो केस भी नहीं है। तो इजराइल इज अ कंट्री, पैलेस्टीन तो कंट्री भी रिकॉग्नाइज नहीं है ना, वो तो कंट्री है ही नहीं।
So I think कि here the active role should be done by the United Nations, and especially the United Nations General Assembly rather than the Security Council.
Yes.
So this we have done in the earlier part.
Yeah, so 3 important areas I would like to say कि marriage, parenthood और the bill, basically the decision for going for having a child. So ये भी impact करता है women in the workforce. So gender inequality को कहीं ना कहीं इस चीज का भी impact आता है. So these are basically more specific reasons जो हम लिख सकते हैं in terms of gender inequality reasons in the workforce in employment.
Okay, can I ask you one thing which is very different from this topic but having some association?
Yes.
When we see that today we are seeing the rise of nuclear families, and our women are also getting participation in the workforce. So the child rearing has been subjected to a lot of hardships because woman is not having enough time to actually give a lot of attention to the babies, and that leads to that leads to calculations in the conditioning. So should we try to focus on the joint family concept, not even the joint, but yes, a proper family which also includes the parents who can actually take the responsibility.
चीज को आप फोर्स नहीं कर सकते हो, दिस इज समथिंग पर्सनल डिसीजन। अगर आप इवन न्यूक्लियर फैमिली में चाइल्ड रेयरिंग की बात कर रहे हो तो दैट गेट्स इम्पैक्टेड बिकॉज ऑफ बेसिकली न्यूक्लियर फैमिली या इवन की वुमन इज आल्सो वर्किंग आउट। सो वहां पे हम बात कर सकते कि जो वर्क प्लेस है वहां पे आप क्यों नहीं ऐसे फैसिलिटीज क्रिएट करते जो क्रेच फैसिलिटीज आप बोलते हो, सो दैट अगेन दोनों चीजें हैंड इन हैंड हो सकती है। आप वुमन के ऊपर ही क्यों बर्डन डाल रहे हो कि अगर वुमन बाहर जा रही है तो मेल भी बाहर जा रहे हैं, वो भी वर्क कर रहे हैं, तो इक्वल रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी तो उनकी भी है ना।
I am not saying that they are not equally responsible. I am saying that
जो फ्रेम किया था क्वेश्चन कि वुमेन,
नहीं, I am not saying this mandatory should be done. मैंने मैंडेटरी तो बोला ही नहीं, मैंने बोला बिहेवियरल होना चाहिए ऑब्वियसली। मैं कह रहा हूँ कि अगर ये होता है तो जो पेरेंटिंग, मतलब जो हमारे पेरेंटहुड में जो प्रॉब्लम्स आती है, मेंटल प्रॉब्लम्स आ जाती है, लोनलीनेस आ जाती है, बोर्डम आ जाता है, वो भी कहीं ना कहीं मतलब हमारे इम्प्रूव होने के चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं।
हाँ, जॉइंट फैमिली के डेफिनेटली ये बेनिफिट्स जरूर हैं जब हम कंपेयर करते हैं, बट आप इंश्योर कैसे करोगे कि हम जॉइंट फैमिली की तरफ मूव करें, वो है ना प्रॉब्लम।
आई थिंक इसका एक ही तरीका है। आई एम नॉट सेइंग जॉइंट फैमिली लाइक अर्लियर टाइम्स हमारे होते थे, आई एम सेइंग अ प्रॉपर फैमिली व्हिच आल्सो हैव children which also have parents. That is what I'm saying. We have concept of 4, we should have concept of 6. That is what I'm saying. Because that will have a very beautiful impact on the Indian society as far as the parenthood and child rearing is concerned. That can be ensured by realizing the importance of our parents as we realize today the importance of our children, and that is a value system.
सो मेजर इम्पैक्ट जो होना चाहिए ना बिहेवियरल लेवल पे होना चाहिए। अगर वहां पे वी आर हैविंग दैट अंडरस्टैंडिंग, वी आर एबल टू रियलाइज द इम्पोर्टेंस, सो डेफिनेटली बहुत मेजर चेंज देखने को आ सकता है सोसाइटल लेवल पे। एंड वो डेफिनेटली हमारी इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ में भी कंट्रीब्यूट काफी ज्यादा करेगा। एंड इवन जो एल्डरली पॉपुलेशन है, जो वो चैलेंजेस फेस करते हैं, जो हम बात कर रहे हैं कि मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज जो ज्यादा एसोसिएटेड है, तो वो भी साथ के साथ एड्रेस हो सकते हैं।
Yeah,
So
sure.
it all depends upon the behavioral changes that are happening. Okay, now we can move to the editorial page. So,
So, according to Vikas, there is a way out. Hamas attacks also prevents an opportunity to revive the Arab peace initiatives. From the brief, we'll see what is going to say. On the one hand, the eliminationist objective of Iran and Hamas, which is the destruction of state of Israel, is never going to be achieved for the simple reason that Israel is too strong and is backed by the Western nations, especially the US. On the other hand, the Arab Gulf approach has not sufficiently emphasized, indeed, insisted on the creation of a viable Palestinian state as a necessary condition for a lasting peace. So I don't think this is a way out, but yeah, this is a projection by the author which is done that Palestinians should be recognized as a separate state. So he wants to say that, but obviously we will be having a lot of complications because of which it is not being considered as such. And there are two immediate reasons why these attacks took place. First, Hamas been competing with the Palestinian Authority for the leadership for the Palestinian cause, and the Palestinian Authority is the official government of the Palestinians that signed the Oslo Peace Accord with the Israel, which never resulted in the promised Palestinian state. So obviously there are promises which have not been delivered from both the sides. As we can see that in the Oslo Peace Accord, this was promised, but the result is somewhat different. So now we are talking about the climate. It is not just the farmers, business and economic policymakers also need to incorporate climate change into the growth model. So how, what the author wants to say that we have seen this is the warmest ever February and the driest August in the last year, and because of the climate change. And according to a report, single biggest business risk by even consumer good firms has been flagged out. Unseasonal showers during the last summer season crimped the demand for ice creams and cold beverages as well as sales for ACs and refrigerators. For farmers, coping with vagaries of monsoon is a challenge. Dry spells हम देखते हैं, fewer rainy days, लेकिन frequent rains भी देखते हैं because of the global warming. And non-farm businesses are also beginning to feel the pinch, especially because of this. Our fast-moving consumer goods are most, the bearable uh, item in this, and mild summer, short winter, unseasonal rains do much more by creating less manageable uncertainties. And then we are seeing it's not farmers, even policymakers need to take into account the climate change in the growth and plan models. Investment होनी चाहिए, probabilities जो है उनको account में लेना चाहिए, knowledge generation किया जाना चाहिए, breeding of the temperature set tolerant drought resistant crops, timely forecasting should be done of the storms and the heat waves. So both adaptation and mitigation of climate change. So it makes sense to get everyone on board. Let's government industry. So basically, the author wants to say that actually he's just trying to um, bring the focus on the collaborative spirit of each stakeholder, especially as far as the agriculture and the climate change is concerned. So obviously, we can say that the government, business, and economic policymakers are actually doing this, and because of that, we are actually heading toward um, curbing the climate emission to a very large extent, as far as the Western countries are concerned. So women reservation we have talked a number of times, and
I
so we
think,
can talk about
hold
USCO.
on, this one.
Yeah, this one. The Law Commission recommendation on the age of consent is sidestep key question of how to protect the young from sexual abuse while ensuring that they are not pinched for consensual sexual activity fears. Well, I think if the author is saying that they should not be punished for the consensual sexual activity, so one point also be highlighted by the author herself that because of the consensual sexual activity, sometimes that results into sexual abuse also. So according to the Law Commission report, and I'm not against the consensual sex, but yes, there are incidences where the consensual sex has converted into sexual abuse once it is done. So that should also be taken into account. And existing age of consent under the post-coit is a lost opportunity. एंड पोस्को एक्ट की हम बात करते हैं तो इंक्रीज कर दी गई एज 16 of consent from 16 to 18 years, which has magnified the volume of prosecutions against the adolescents engaged in non-coercive consensual sexual activity. But the author needs to understand this is Indian society. We cannot actually go so much open in the name of liberalism when she is criticizing this age perception and age increase which is done by the government. So obviously the policymakers have given a lot of consideration to the values as well as to the modernism which is happening in country. So convention on the rights of child places a child at the center while recognizing that person under 18 years need differential protection corresponding to their evolving capacities, which refers to the process of maturation and learning through which the child progressively develops her competencies. According to this, the General Comments 20 calls for age-appropriate sexuality education, access to confidential medical counseling, and prohibits law from criminalizing consensual sexual activity with the peers.
So I
So
have a question,
we
Pravesh.
talk about the Indian society. Yeah, I'll come to you.
Okay.
If we talk about the Indian society, so we have a perception that consensual sex is also not good, but because of the modernism, we are taking into account that it is good. So actually, there is a dim and conflicting of interest between the modernism and the traditionalism, and we have two sections in the Indian society, which is one favoring the consensual sex, and another one is completely against of it. Yeah. So now you
My
can ask, man.
Okay, my question is, why do you think, yeah, what are the reasons behind rising child sexual abuse cases? Reasons kya hai of rising these cases?
Reasons, well, there are multiple reasons. Number one, I told that sometimes the consensual sex results into the sexual abuse once it is done because of um, number of factors.
Yeah, I got that.
And yeah, second thing is in the young age, why sexual abuse is happening because of lack of sexual education, because of which um, you know some incidences are done.
Okay.
And third thing I can suggest is because the maturity of our young age population they develop at this particular time. So the need to streamline that energy into a proper manner rather than getting involved in these abusal activities.
So somewhere we can also say ki people who are coming from weaker economic background, also children from weaker economic background, they are more susceptible to such kind of sexual harassments. This can be also linked with, lack of employment opportunities also when people take
No,
out their.
we are talking about consensual sex, so how it is so?
No, I'm not asking specifically about consensual sex. I'm just
Okay.
talking about why the number in children is increasing about the sexual assaults. So
Yeah.
that is why I'm connecting it with this point also. So that is also one of the areas. And
Definitely low
this is
standard of
also
life,
connected with mental
low
health.
standard of life, illiteracy,
Yes.
and poor conditions. Then um, mental stress. There are a number of incidences, and obviously, that particular negative mindset of using women just for this purpose, that is also one of the major cause of such kind of incidences which we find.
And we can also say one thing कि we are having the POXO Act, but despite that, ऐसा कोई major precedent नहीं set हुआ है, which can be again, sending a deterrence kind of message to these perpetrators.
So I think इसमें हम 3 या 4 चीजों पे फोकस कर सकते हैं. Number one, we have to incorporate the sexual education into the curriculum. Number
Yes.
one, ताकि लोग शर्माए ना इन चीजों की बात करते हुए, because actually in India the problem is people when they do this they are not shying, but when someone talks in the public they shy.